The winning continues for the Canadians. 2-0 here over Argentina in this friendly being played in Spain. As we welcome you back inside our OneSoccer studio, Annie Petrillo alongside Oliver Platt. The Canadians with the game against Argentina today. They'll have another game only on Monday against Morocco. And we know this is Bev Priestman really just trying new things, seeing new players on the squad as well, testing the depth, as we know there's a ton of injuries to the squad. They come out with, yet again, another win. What did you make of the play against Argentina, where, by the way, just a reminder, it was scoreless after the first 45?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. You know, I wouldn't go much further than that. I think if they'd taken some of those early chances, there's one that pops off Leon's hand, then it's a different game. It's a much more open game. Maybe we're talking in more positive terms about Canada's performance. So they had chances there. I also think you have to take into account that there are changes to the team, there are absences to the team, and making that more difficult, they haven't had a lot of time to prepare for this game. They've flown in for camp and they're basically playing straight away. So I think Canada can play better than that. I hope we see better than that against Morocco on Monday. But they got the job done in the end, and I thought in the second half in particular there were improvements, particularly against 10 men, obviously, and some things for Bev Priestman to take out of the game.
Yeah, 6 regulars missing. You know, to name a few, obviously, Christine Sinclair, Ashley Lawrence, Vanessa Gilles. Those are the big names as well for this Canadian squad. But the Canadians did put some shots on target. And let's face it, Argentina's goalkeeper was busy in this one. As we take you to the all-state save of the match, you have to go to the 63rd minute here, Korea. This was on Buchanan. Now, the Canadians would go on and score in the 68th minute, but she was coming up with some saves even in that first half, Ollie.
Yeah, good save there. I think this is an area where you'd like to see Canada, you know, maybe make more of those situations, the set-piece situations. Again, it's a time thing, right? When you don't have a lot of time and they're friendly games and not tournament games, probably set pieces are a little way down the list of things you're working on in training. But I think there's the potential there with some of the physical players Canada have to make more of those situations, and nearly got a goal there.
All right, so a 2-0 victory for Canada. When we return, former national team player, Hall of Famer Amy Walsh is going to join us and give her thoughts on that game by the Canadians, as Evelyn Viens gets one and Chloe Lacasse gets her first for country. 2-0, the final for Canada over Argentina with this game in Spain. Stay with us here on OneSoccer.
Fun. Intelligence. Drive. They run in the family. Corolla.
A new era for Canadian soccer begins today. Experience the emotion of every match. Watch all the highlights, the breaking news, the best debates and analysis, and all the information about the Canadian stars playing abroad. Get access to the best of Canadian soccer from any device. Join the new dawn of an unstoppable game. See the rise on OneSoccer.ca.
Thank you, Canada, for making dreams come true. We're with you all the way.
Oh, look at this. Joe Mason on the other end of a perfect delivery. Puts and he doesn't need him because Dadaluga scored.
For life's transitions, working from home, and even small businesses, life gets better when you have space. With no long-term contracts or leases, get the size you need. First 4 weeks free. Access Storage, proud partner of Canada Soccer and the women's national team.
Every CPL season, there is one season that matters most. Playoff season. Who is in? Who is out? Watch the CPL playoff season unfold on OneSoccer.
May not have been a pretty affair, but the Canadians get the job done. Check. They picked up another win. Janine Becky, you see right there, played in that number 10 role. We've seen Christine Sinclair play in that role, linking up with Jordan Heidema, but Sinclair injured. And Janine Becky, the ever-versatile player on this squad. We've seen her play as a fullback. She's been on the wing. Now she's in the center of the field as well. This is a player who Bev Priestman has come to rely on quite a bit in playing different positions. As we welcome you back into the show, Andy and Ollie in studio here. Let's welcome via satellite, as I like to say, or is it maybe just via Zoom, Amy Walsh. Amy, no score in that first 45, but the Canadians, through their subs, find a way to open up the scoring. Evelyn Viens gets the Canadians on the board. What did you make of that first goal?
Yeah, I think it was great. It was a timely goal, and I think I agree with Ollie's assessment of the first half. If Canada had gotten on the board via those Leon chances, I think that the game would have opened up, and we maybe would be talking a little bit differently here. But I think the second half, the insertion of the substitutes, Viens in particular, but also Quinn, just a great line-breaking pass right there to liberate that 1-2 that Viens sort of creates the confusion and the challenge on the goalkeeper leading to the own goal. Quinn was instrumental in that and was also on the ball and demanded the ball. So their impact was felt immediately. And I don't think that's necessarily an indictment of the performance of that dual pivot in Grosso and Fleming. But I just think Canada was a little bit tentative in the way that they attacked and tried to provoke the attack in the first half. It was a little bit pedestrian. It was a little bit predictable. And we needed more, I think, out of Becky in that number 10 role. And you could see when she moved into more of that wide area, that channel space that she's more comfortable operating in. And then Quinn really imposed themselves on the game in the middle of the park. It really changed the way that Canada was able to attack. And I think also shifting into that more traditional 4-3-3 that we've seen this team employ, I think you saw that create more problems at the front and more issues for Argentina in defending. So I think the complexion of the game had changed. But I think those subs were instrumental in really getting Canada going on the attack.
Let's not forget Awujo. That was a quick little boop right into Viens.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want to see from Evelyn Viens as well. She comes short, combines the play. I thought Canada lacked a bit of that in the first half, then makes that run in behind instantly. And the understanding from Awujo is excellent. For a young player, I've talked about her a few times since the Under-20 tournament. I think she's a real big talent for this national team. Having the instincts there just to play that pass first time to Viens, really, really good. That's exactly what you want to see from Viens, like I said, and I totally agree with Amy. Quinn changed the game, and that's going to be an interesting one for Bev Priestman. I think sometimes maybe, against Australia, they were getting a bit tighter to the midfield, a bit more pressure in the midfield, and Fleming and Grosso are good in those situations, turning out of trouble, being able to play under that pressure. When you're playing against a low block like that and the game's just all in front of you, that's where I think Quinn comes in, and they're really good at adding depth to Canada's game with the passing, being able to break lines and find players accurately and quickly in between the lines. Quinn was really excellent, I thought.
I'll keep going back to a quote from Bev Priestman. We had her on the show after the Canadians won the Olympic gold, and I talked about her substitutions heading into that second half. And she said before the tournament, before the Olympics, she wanted to be the best coach at substitution. She wanted to make sure that whatever she did impacted the game positively for her team. And from what I'm hearing from the two of you, is she nailed it once again in these games as she herself, right, is prepping herself for the World Cup and how she'll handle her squad. So let's talk about another one of those substitutes in Chloe Lacasse. And this is somebody, Amy, I think we feel can score a lot of goals. She's got the fancy feet. We're going to take a look at some of her chances before she finally gets the first one for her country.
Yeah, this game for me was screaming for Chloe Lacasse. I think it was screaming for a two-pronged attack, a little bit of adaptability in terms of tactics that Canada was employing, but a player with the qualities that Chloe Lacasse has. She's very dynamic with the ball at her feet. You can see a little bit of trickery there. So it makes her a little bit more unpredictable, gives you a different look than somebody who's more north-south in a Nichelle Prince. So I think there's always a place for a Chloe Lacasse on this team, but the success that she's seen at Benfica and the prolific scoring that she's been able to generate at the club level, we haven't yet seen for country. So she finally opens her account for Canada, and it's wonderful to see because I think that will just do wonders for her confidence. And as she gets more and more minutes, will give Bev Priestman headaches down the line for her, her great substitutions. I think she had a triple sub against Nigeria, or it was in the CONCACAF Championships. She's always really on point with her subs. but we're speaking about the depth of this squad and what Bev Priestman has at her disposal. So it creates problems for selections. But in terms of the evolution of this team and how tactically sophisticated and the way that they can play, I think it just bodes very, very well for the lead into this World Cup and for the future of Canada in soccer and women.
Yeah, 100%. And what I really like about Lacasse, and I think you can say the same thing about Lyon in recent months as well, just always in good areas, right? Like it's not necessarily always coming off for them. It didn't today. You know, Lyon has had a frustrating day in front of goal in terms of taking those chances, but she's in the right place at the right time. And if you keep doing that game by game, you know, over a period of time, you will get your goals. And we saw it with Lacasse getting hers at the end there. Right place, right time, easy tap in. She'll want the one back earlier with the header. That should have been a goal as well. But as long as you keep making those runs, you're dynamic, you're direct and attacking and keep going and getting in those spaces, the ball is going to come and the goals will come as well.
Yeah, Adriana Leon doesn't end up on the score sheet here, Ollie, but I wonder if we could have a camera showing her at the moment, because she's probably covered in ice packs. Because even though she had quite a few chances, she was also beaten up in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still in a state of disbelief that the red card that was given was not actually a straight red card. It was given as a second yellow, and the player just happened to have already received the yellow card. It was a straight red all day long. But here's what I mean about Lyon. Like, that's just bad luck, right? It pops up, doesn't quite get a clean touch on it. Then the physical play starts, as we saw in the first half. That is a yellow card at least. Nothing gets given. But yeah, it was another game with Adriana Leon where, again, even though you're not talking about a goal for her today, she's active, she's involved, she's in the right places at the right time. She's clearly a target of opposition attention now, as we've seen in this game. And that's all you can ask from her, really, I think, is to continue to make these runs, be really aggressive. And more often than not, she'll bury that in the back of the net. She'll be frustrated she didn't today, but overall, I think you see the things you want to see. Here's the red cards. Like, you see Lyon just with a little push, there's a little coming together. It's just an elbow, I think, to the face or neck. Like, it says all you need to say about how this referee handled the game, that it's not just a straight red and see you later. But fortunately, yeah, the second yellow instead.
Right, a chop in the throat. Amy, come on. I mean, Canadian, I mean, even Heidema a few times got knocked over.
Yeah, she did. The referee, as you said, Ollie, should have really had a handle on this game from the get-go. And then players know what to expect to a degree. And then when Lyon gets laid out, the one where her feet just get swept right out from underneath her and she lands on the pitch, and it's just a foul is given and not a card, not even a talking to the player. I think, players feel like they have the latitude there to maybe get stuck in a little bit more and really push the envelope. But yeah, I think Lyon will look back on those two grade A chances and think, those should have been buried. And normally I think Adriana Leon does bury those, and she has done for her country. There was one play though, and you think maybe that played a little bit of a mental game with herself, because that, I think, was a great ball from Prince that led her into space on the right flank, and that she could have played a one-time ball into Viens, who had a step on the Argentinian center back, and she elected to hold it, to keep it, to sort of stand up on the ball and play it back, and Canada still got a chance as a result, but that one-time ball was on. So you could see maybe it ruffled her, not just the physicality that Argentina threw at her, but I think the fact that she didn't bury those chances, I think, affected her game thereafter.
Let's go back to the substitution conversation. Amy and Quinn, you mentioned them already and the impact that they had. What is it that they do to change the game that you like?
I think it's in their body language. When you play in the middle of the park, and it's not to say, again, that Grosso and Fleming don't do this, because they're two highly technical players who do want the ball. But Quinn just has a way of bossing the midfield where it's evident to anybody on the touchline, anybody who's playing with her or with them in the middle of the park, or somebody who's just watching it through the screen, that they want the ball all the time. And that's what you want out of a player who's playing deep in the midfield, anchoring it. And you want the ball to always be going through this type of player. And I think they come onto the field and instantly change the complexion of the game. Sure, we see them, Argentina go down to 10 men, and the game further you think will open up, but they drop more. And I think Quinn in there is able to really dictate the game in a way that we didn't see that double pivot with Fleming and Grosso do.
Yeah, there's a lot I like about Quinn's game, but you could see in the clips there something that I thought they were lacking in the first half was just a player to put their foot on the ball in midfields. And it's not always, the pass doesn't always come straight away, right? There's a touch to the left, a touch to the right. Let's just scan. Let's see what's in front of us. Let's wait for someone to make the right run, wait for the right combination to potentially open up, then hit the pass with real accuracy and real intent. And that's what Quinn does. Did it brilliantly in that second half. And the next step for Canada, I think, is when those passes come in, can we be a bit more kind of ahead of the game in terms of how the play then develops, right? The player receiving the ball, can they know a little bit quicker where it's going next? Someone, who's close to the player receiving the ball, can they make a run off them in a little bit of a way that's sharper? And I thought we saw that on the goal with Vienna and Awujo, just kind of on the same page and understanding there. We need a bit more of that, I think, from the rest of the team.
Amy, before we let you go, I know... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, and I just wanted to jump off that, what Ollie was saying. I think that's really what Canada's lacking now. We're talking about them being more tactically adaptable and sophisticated, but I also think playing with a player like Quinn deep in that midfield who's able to dictate the game the way that they do, you need that movement and that creativity off the ball and thinking 1 and 2 and 3 steps in advance, so that there's those spaces are not already being occupied. You're weaponizing the space in behind or against a low block. You're pulling players, dragging players out of the space that you want to exploit. So I think Canada has to do that a lot better.
Well, that was actually going to lead into what I wanted to ask you, is because we know they're going to take on Morocco Monday. We're going to get into their opportunities as well to play more friendlies heading into the World Cup. But maybe what are just still some of the things you want to see from Canada? Because especially at the World Cup, it's going to be completely different opponents, right? We're talking about European opponents as well, who we just saw at the European Championship, and, what England was also able to do in winning it all. Like, there's going to be some different competition here. And what is it that you want to see from, this Canadian squad, where the narrative before, Amy, has always been, can they score? Right? And even though we're starting to see a little bit more scoring by committee, I think we've all kind of accepted the fact that nobody's ever really going to replace a Christine St. Clair. But we are starting to see them score a bit more. But what is it that you want to see with these friendlies leading into New Zealand/Australia?
Well, I think it's building into and gleaning the experience that you get from facing these different opponents that are going to throw different things tactically at you, and then you learn from it and you grow. So I'd like to see them in this window, as quick as the turnaround is before they face Morocco. Can they take the lessons learned against an Argentina and apply them in that game? And, regardless of whether the squad's rotated, because, we don't maybe have 5 players out of Bev Priestman's best 11. So who does she elect to go with? But can they build on this somehow? I would like to see them, regardless of how Morocco sets up, whether it's a similar way to Argentina, to just be a little bit more, see a more uptick in tempo. So especially in transition. Today, I think they were swarming the ball and going for the regaining, but weren't always there, but they had the numbers. And that was frustrating for me to see. And I think, a team that sits back really low isn't really exposing themselves so that you can go fast in transition. The tendency is to want to put your foot in the ball and then go slow. But I'd like to see them play around with that a little bit more and really challenge their opponents, but challenge themselves more than anything, so that they can really play around with the different tactics, but also play around with more combination play and moving with confidence through the middle of the park, and then maybe spraying it back wide instead of sort of that umbrella approach that we saw today, where they were just content to expose the outside, but when they got to the final third, were unable to really penetrate and threaten that way.
Yeah, that's great stuff. What is it that you want to see?
Yeah, I just think Canada's going to face at least 1 and maybe 2 of these types of games at the World Cup, right? And so they normally get the job done in these games. Maybe we'd like to see more goals. We'd love to see them put up 5 or 6 instead of win 2-0, but they normally go over the line. But when you're playing with kind of margins that are this fine, where it is a 1-goal game until quite late on, you're just playing with fire and running a risk a little bit, right? And so it's games that Canada should win and usually do win. But if you do slip up once at the World Cup, it can obviously be hugely damaging in terms of your chances of getting out of that group if results don't go your way against the better teams. So it's something that we still need to see a bit of work. I think a more convincing performance against Morocco would definitely boost confidence.
Yeah. Amy, great stuff as always, and we look forward to chatting with you as well as the Canadians do get set to take on Morocco. That will be on Monday. Amy Walsh will join us then. A nice little Thanksgiving edition. We're going to get you set because 10 a.m. Just join us first before you dive into the turkey or the tofurkey or whatever it is that you're going to eat. Hopefully you do get your veggies in you and some pumpkin pie. I am team pumpkin pie. If you're not, don't at me. I'm not interested. Are you?
Who isn't?
Thank you. We are all team pumpkin pie. 10 a.m. Eastern Time, Canada versus Morocco, right here on OneSoccer. So yes, this is a window right now that Bev Priestman is taking advantage of. Argentina, a nice 2-0 victory for the Canadians. Morocco's next, but we'll take a look at some other possibilities that the Canadians have to get on the pitch as they continue to prepare for World Cup 2023. Stay with us here on OneSoccer.
There is something quite magical about heading into a new destination. A journey into the unknown. Not alone, but together, as a country, as a sport, ready to soar. We are Canada, and this is our sport. This is our time.
Oh, look at this, Joe Mason on the other end of a perfect delivery. Puts and he doesn't need him, because Dadaluga scored.
Fun. Intelligence. Drive. They run in the family. Corolla.
A new era for Canadian soccer begins today. Experience the emotion of every match. Watch all the highlights, the breaking news, the best debates and analysis, and all the information about the Canadian stars playing abroad. Get access to the best of Canadian soccer from any device. Join the new dawn of an unstoppable game. See the rise on OneSoccer.ca.
Every CPL season, there is one season that matters most. Playoff season. Who is in? Who is out? Watch the CPL playoff season unfold on OneSoccer.
Full-time stats here. Canada really picking things up in that second half. 15 the shots to 4 after the first 45. It was 3 apiece. 5 shots on target for them. So Caitlin Sheridan not really tested in this one at all by Argentina. 2-0. Canada walks away victorious here, scoring both those goals after Argentina does go down to 10 men, but they take advantage. Evelyn Vienne, Chloe Lacasse, your goal scorers. Now, here's a look at the windows that are available to the Canadians to play friendlies here ahead of the FIFA Women's World Cup, which begins July 20th. New Zealand, Australia, the joint hosts in that one. And, you know, speaking to Bev Priestman before this game here against Argentina, Ollie, she had said, you know, the NWSL players right now are gassed, right? They've played a full season. They're heading into their playoffs. Canadians have played a huge role on those NWSL teams, many of them going into the playoffs. But how important are these dates when they're out of season and still playing?
Yeah, well, the November one's coming up. It sounds like Canada's, you know, hoping to get some pretty significant opponents in those games. I don't think we'll see opponents like this at the end of the year. So, look, it's an interesting one for Canada. You know, you compare it to the men who haven't had many opportunities at all to kind of play against kind of strong World Cup opposition. The women are going to get a ton of opportunities, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of games they arrange and how Bev Priestman wants to approach that going into Australia and New Zealand. Yeah,
because they keep saying it. We are the Olympic champions, but the World Cup is a different beast, and they know they're going to have to prove themselves again. And because they are Olympic champions, they have the target on their back. 2-0 win for them here against Argentina. Up next, Morocco on Monday. On behalf of everyone, thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you Monday morning. The 2022 Canadian Championship Final.